Hi, I'm Andy Glass with the Glass Impressions Woodworking channel. Summer is here and summer means grilling. Today I'm grilling chicken and hamburger with the help of Rockler Woodworking and Hardware's Grilling Hardware Kit. Let's head into the shop and I'll show you how I made them.
The grill tool hardware kit includes a spatula, a basting brush, tongs, 2 threaded inserts, 2 loop caps, and 6 pins for the tong handles. To prepare the blanks for the spatula and basting brush, I cut them to width at the table saw. I head to the miter saw to square up one edge. I measure and cut to length, making sure to use the hold down. The 2 blanks measure 1.5 inches square and 6 inches long. I connect each corner to find the center of the blank. I load a 1/2 inch drill bit into my drill press to drill a hole for the threaded insert. I use a drill press vise to keep the blank square to the table and nice and secure. I set the depth stop on my drill press to ensure I don't drill too deep. Next we use Rockler's turning mandrel and the drill press to drive the threaded insert into the blank. I mount the turning mandrel into the lathe and screw on the threaded insert. I recommend using thread lubricant to make it easier to thread in. When threading in the insert, I apply light pressure with the drill press with one hand and turn the chuck with the other. If you don't have a drill press or simply want an alternative method, you can secure the blank in a vise or with a clamp and use an Allen wrench to drive the threaded insert. I thread on my Nova chuck on my mini lathe and insert the turning mandrel and tighten the chuck. I then can thread on the turning blank and bring up the tailstock for extra support. I will be using Rockler's full-size round and square carbide turning tools. I adjust the banjo and tool rest and slowly make contact with the blank. I take nice and light passes to avoid catches. Occasionally you will see me put the tool on top of the blank. If the tool bounces, the blank is not yet round. If it doesn't bounce, it is round. I prefer to take step cuts the width of the turning tool. Simply press into the desired depth and then move the tool to the next spot on the blank. The 2 ends need to be 1 inch in diameter to match the hardware. I find taking an open-ended 1-inch wrench works great for a caliper. The shape and diameter between the ends is completely up to the turner. I chose a gentle arch to make the handle a little thicker. Once the blank is turned to final shape, it is now time to sand. I start at 100 grit and finish with 600 grit. I mount the turn handle in the drill press vise with some paper towels to avoid marring the surface and drill a hole on the other end for the loop cap. I use 5-minute epoxy to secure the loop cap into the turned handle. Make sure to wipe the excess epoxy off right away. Next we can start on the tong handles. I rip a piece of wood at the table saw to width and cut 2 sections at the miter saw. I apply glue to both sides of the blanks and place a piece of craft paper in between them. This will make separating them possible after turning. When marking the center of the blank, you must make sure it lands on the craft paper so both sides are identical when separated. You can turn this blank between centers, but I decided to use my chuck since I had one. Turning this blank is identical to the first 2, but it is important that both sides are no less than 1 inch or the metal on the tongs will be sticking out the sides. This will be very uncomfortable. To make sure there was no risk doing this, I decided to make mine a 1/16 inch larger. I again sanded up to 600 grit. Being I used a chuck, I need to cut the square end off at the bandsaw. To split the 2 halves, apply light pressure on the craft paper. This technique is called split turning. I sand the craft paper off with a few strokes on a sanding pad. Next we need to attach the newly turned handles to the hardware. I clamp a piece of wood in the tongs to prevent the 2 halves from sliding by one another, and then apply another clamp to hold it in place. Using a 1/8 inch drill bit, I drill out the holes using the holes in the tongs as a guide. I do the same to the other handle as well. I again mix up a batch of 5-minute epoxy to glue the handles to the tongs. Apply the epoxy and clamp the handles firmly in place. Make sure to clean up any excess epoxy. When the epoxy is cured, I can now drive the 6 steel pegs, 3 in each handle. I place them by hand and then use the pliers to press them in. I then file them flush to the wood. I remove the spatula and basting brush and tape off the remaining metal. I then apply a few coats of shellac from a rattle can.
I encourage you guys to do some grilling this summer. If you'd like more information on the Rockler Grilling Hardware Kit, head over to your local Rockler or visit rockler.com. If you'd like to know more information on glass impressions, I encourage you to visit my website, andyglassimpressions.com, or search me on YouTube, Glass Impressions, as I frequently release woodworking and CNC content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.